The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself. Big penises and small penises and fat penises and penis-shaped penises. Welcome to the Queen's Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Raga with my two BFFs, Jack and Ash. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hi, Rachel.
I don't know if you knew this, but it is special sports ball hockey season. And there's like a big cup thing that people are fighting for.
Oh.
That's coming up.
The Heisman Cup or whatever.
Is that the thing you lose when you get your virginity? Your hymen?
Oh, that's the Hyman Cup.
I
Silly.
legit thought she said hymen.
Oh, I mean, that makes more sense, I think. So to celebrate sports ball cup thing.
You mean like a jockstrap?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to that, but it's
Okay.
big and shiny. So
Right.
it's a big shiny jockstrap with names and shit on
And
it.
they like engrave
puck.
it or something?
Yeah, and then they hold it up and take it for a tour, and then everyone
Yeah,
gets to
doesn't
take it
like
home.
each
and-
person they get to have a
I'm
parade.
having
Yeah.
flashbacks to the last fucking hockey book that we did, like neck puck, dick puck.
Oh my god, that was what's his face? Tal Bauer.
Yeah.
That one? Yeah.
Yes, Tal Bachman. She's so high. I'm sure we made that joke, right?
So yeah, we did. You did.
Sure.
Also, I hate pretending to be that girl that calls it sports ball and like
Oh, okay. Hockey. Sorry, it's hockey.
it's funny when you do it, but I
Perfect.
don't do it.
So we are reading The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I actually hilariously, when I picked up this book, the physical copy of it, I actually got it in Revelstoke when I was visiting my brother out in BC, from the Fable Book Parlor. It was just there, and it was just a little itty bitty bookstore, and they had a couple books from Elle Kennedy on it, and I'm like, I need this book. This is perfect. I'm here, so I'm going to pick it up. Why not? So
Good story.
yeah, thank you for that. So Elle Kennedy, like,
Good speech. Good speech.
thank you, thank you. I was trying to exemplify the accessibility of Elle Kennedy's works because she tends to be in bookstores. Like when you look at romance, but like when you look at romance authors, like not prolific, but like obvious ones, like she's up there along with like besides the Sarah J. Maas and like even Colleen Hoover, like those, like the
Colleen Hoover's all over the place.
right, but
Sarah
regardless,
Simone.
Sarah Simone wasn't even in this bookstore, for example. But like when you look at obvious romance authors that tend to be out there, like in the accessible sphere, Elle Kennedy tends to pop up, which is why I chose to do this book specifically for sports ball.
Sports puck.
Yeah, Sportspuck. She's about to make a
Because it's not a ball. I get it.
She's about to make a deal with a college bad boy. Hannah Wells has finally found someone who turns her on. But while she might be confident in every other way of her life, she's carting around a full set of baggage when it comes to sex and seduction. If she wants to get her crush's attention, she'll have to step out of her comfort zone and make him take notice, even if it means tutoring the annoying, childish, cocky captain of the hockey team in exchange for a pretend date. All Garrett Graham has ever wanted is to play professional hockey after graduation, but his plummeting GPA is threatening everything he's worked so hard for. If helping a sarcastic brunette make another guy jealous will help him secure his position on the team, he's all for it. But when one unexpected kiss leads to the wildest sex of both their lives, it doesn't take long for Garrett to realize that pretend isn't going to cut it. Now he just has to convince Hannah that the man she wants looks a lot like him. So welcome.
And it's his dad.
Oh God.
I was thinking his twin brother, but I like the dad better.
And you've read this book, so you know how bad that is.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so let's frame this out here. So we're at Briar University. So Briar U is the series that we're reading. It's technically called the Off-Campus series because Briar U has like Elle Kennedy wrote a couple series surrounding Briar.
Yep.
And so this is specifically the hockey one. So book one, this is book one in the Off-Campus series. Book two is The Mistake, and then there's like a 2.5 called The Pact. Then book 3 is The Score. 3.5 is The Incident. Then there's The Goal, and then The Legacy. And so I think a lot of them follow the
the guys in the house.
The guys in the house who we'll talk about. So Garrett Graham is the hockey player in this instance.
They're all hockey players.
Yeah, and so his teammates / roommates are John Tucker, John Logan, and Dean Hayward De Laurento. And so the two Johns, they go by the last name Tucker and Logan, obviously, because they're both named John, which is, I think, just a fun little thing that she threw in there. And I'm like, this is funny.
John Tucker must die.
Whoa, that escalated.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Oh, okay, cool. It's like, okay, we're killing hockey players.
It's funny too because I'm reading the second book right now, and when the Johns like get mad at each other, they first name one another.
Oh my god, I love that. It's funny because, like, I mean, a little bit of spoiler, I guess, for the second book, but it's at the end of this book. There's the first chapter. I was going to continue reading the series, but the second book, and let me know if I'm off the mark here, but the second book is like the female character is like looking to lose her virginity or something.
Ish. She's not looking. I mean, she is a virgin.
Yeah.
But it's not like he accidentally stumbles into her room.
Yeah.
But like thinking it's his friend's room.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up watching a movie together and he thinks she's pretty cool. So they start to fool around and he gets off. She pretends to get off and he leaves.
Gotcha.
So then he obsesses over the fact that he knows he didn't get her off and comes back to her room and is like, I need to get you off. And she's like, all right. And so they start hanging out a bit and then he realizes that he might be using her to get over someone.
Yes, okay.
And so he shows up to like kind of break it off and she tries to seduce him, not because she wants, like, she's not a virgin for any like particular reason other than the fact that she's just a virgin. And so he's like, no, I can't do this. And she gets all embarrassed because like, I was going to give you my virginity and blah. So it's not like, I know what you're thinking in that like innocent blah, 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 whatever. And it's not that.
Okay, perfect. I
So-
might continue reading the series then. We'll
Yeah,
see.
there is something that kind of like made me, but it wasn't enough for me to stop it. It had nothing to do
interesting.
with her virginity.
Okay, so to that point, though, we need to talk about some trigger warnings for this book specifically.
Yes.
So right off the bat, sexual assault and domestic violence are two big ones.
Yeah.
Great.
Domestic violence specifically for his family, sexual assault for her specifically, and also rape as well. So pay attention if you're going to be reading this book. This stuff is forefront, I will say.
Well, I mean, the rape is mentioned like
Right off the bat. Yeah.
Like, and it's a pretty like, it's a pretty like prevalent thing in terms of like story and plot device. Like it's not just like a
Not just like a one-off comment.
yeah,
or
it's not a
whatever.
glazed over it kind of thing.
It is definitely a large plot point. And it drives a lot of her decision making.
Yeah.
In not necessarily bad ways, I think, but in interesting ways, which we'll talk
As one would
about.
expect it to some degree, though.
To some degree, and anyway, we'll talk about it more as we get into it because there's some points I like to make about that. So we start the book off with his dilemma, aka we are sitting in, oh god, what's the stupid class, Ashton?
Ethics.
No, but it's like it's bullshit ethics. What the fuck is it called?
I think it's like ethical theory.
It's something along those. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's ethical theory. We'll go with like that's probably the easiest way to understand it.
We start in the class. We start in the classroom where we're introduced to Nell, who's one of her like just her classmate who she sits beside.
next to her.
Yeah, and so they get their paper back, and like Hannah made an A minus, I think, or something, and Nell made like a C minus or a B or something. But anyway, basically the entire class, half the class flunked. More than half the class flunked the midterm. So the professor is letting them do a rewrite the following week. So this is like a Wednesday or Monday, I think. No, this is a Wednesday.
And like a big part of it is too is like this professor wasn't originally teaching the class, and the professor before was really lenient on jocks.
So not even jocks, just in general. So the way they phrase it is that the previous professor, it was like a bird course, which is why Garrett picked it up, because he has to maintain a certain GPA in order to continue playing hockey. And Briar U specifically doesn't go lenient on their hockey players like some other universities do. And so when he flunks his midterm, he's like having a crisis because he's going to
Not play hockey.
not be able to play hockey. He's going to get benched if he doesn't maintain his GPA. So he's freaking out.
They're leaving the classroom, and she's one of the few people left, and he figures that it's because she didn't do well or something.
There's something along the lines of like she's looking at the tutorial list or something, or she has to like pick up a class or whatever. Anyway, they like bump into each other, and she drops her ethics paper, and when he picks it up, he's like, "Oh my god, you get an A-. You have to tutor me. I'm like gonna flunk this class. If I flunk this class, I can't play hockey. Like I need, like, could you please tutor me?" And she's like, "No." Straight up.
I also love that from his perspective, he's like, I'm pretty sure her name starts with an M.
Oh my god.
I was just gonna say, do they know each other?
No.
No.
Okay, I will say this though. Everyone knows who Garrett Graham is because he's the captain of the hockey team. Everybody knows him. Everyone on planet Earth. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, I think I know, like I know her name. Like it starts with an M. There's an M in it. There's something like that." And when he finally figures it, when she introduces herself basically as Hannah, he's like,
Hannah not with an M.
Hannah not with an M is what he says to himself. And he does mention it like way later on. He's like, "I thought your name started with an M." Just anyway.
Also, his dad is like a super famous hockey player, which
his dad
important.
is Phil Graham, and he played for the Rangers. And it's important to know this just for context, I think. But like everyone knows who his father is, and like so obviously he's a prolific hockey player himself because of who his dad is. Douchebag. And so as you can imagine, he's like a stereotypical jock, like goes to the frat parties and lives in the house with and like hooks up and like is always, you know, got the babes around him and whatever. The babes. And then we get a bit of her kind of dilemma, and her dilemma is that she has a massive crush on this guy. His name's Justin Cole.
With his stupid bedhead hair.
With his stupid, perfectly tousled hair and tall, and he's a football player. And
he's super like sensitive because he loves Hemingway.
He reads. Anyway. And so she's got her eye on him, and she has a massive crush on him. And Garrett kind of clocks this early on, but doesn't really think anything of it.
But it's also important too because Justin's the first guy that like has made her feel something.
Yeah. So then we get a bit of her backstory, and this is where like the trigger warnings are coming in here, guys. So we get from her perspective kind of her backstory about how she was raped at a party when she was 15 years old, and she went through like years of therapy. She doesn't like going to parties, and she doesn't drink when she goes out. And she has a huge, like, because she was, you know, drugged at a party and then raped. And that's as much as you kind of get this early on. So just to frame her as a character, like, she does not trust people when she goes outside to go to parties or any of that stuff. So she's challenging herself to, like, be more social this year. And so her and her roommate, Allie, have, like, made a plan to go to this frat party this evening. Just to like socialize and hang out and whatever. And Allie has promised too, because this is like they're very close knit friends. She's promised to not drink when anytime they go out together. She doesn't drink, and they watch each other.
I really kind of love that about Allie, in that like she was so mindful of Hannah's everything, and like she just wanted Hannah to have a good time, but she also understood Hannah's mindset with it, and so she met her on her level with it so she would be comfortable, not just for herself but like for Allie too, because you kind of get the idea that like Hannah's just apprehensive about the whole thing in general. And even though Allie's boyfriend was going to be there, Allie still made an effort to make sure Hannah was comfortable, which was, you love to see it.
So they go to this frat party, and like you so Allie's boyfriend Sean is there as well.
SHAWN?
SEAN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
It matters.
It matters.
Totally matters.
Oh, okay.
What a ridiculous question.
100% matters.
Sorry.
So they go to this frat party that night, and like Garrett is not giving it up. He's like just at her, constantly trying to get her to tutor him.
Is he in the frat?
He is part of a fraternity. I don't remember which one, honestly, but he lives off campus with his aforementioned roommates, the hockey players. But he is part of a fraternity. I can't remember which
all
one.
All of them? All four of them?
I think they are. At the very least, Garrett is. I know that for a fact because there's a scene later on with Hannah.
Oh, yeah.
Hannah and that guy. I can't remember his name. It's just some
Jeremy, no.
It could be. He's just a throwaway character, basically.
Yeah, he's a dummy.
He's just. I mean, he's a dude. Whatever.
Well,
He's just a guy. He's just a fucking guy, Ashton.
But I feel like if Garrett was in a fraternity, then John Logan would for sure be in the fraternity.
I assume they are
because they're like
they're
besties.
Yeah. Anyway, they're at this frat party, and Hannah
she talks to the random guy.
Well, here's the thing. She's like kind of socializing, and then Sean is there, and so she like pushes Allie off to like, no, go hang out with your boyfriend, go play beer pong, whatever you're doing. Like, you don't need to like stick by me. Look, there's some people I know. I'm gonna go talk to them. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, if you're fine with that, whatever. So she goes off and doesn't talk to the people. Fine.
The people
but then,
are like disappear or something.
Well, but then she clocks fucking Garrett rolls in as he does, and she's like, I'm the fuck out of here because he's just gonna hassle me. And sure enough, he like starts to make a beeline to her, so she runs off to the bathroom. So when she gets out of the bathroom, she runs smack into Justin Cole again, who she has a massive crush on, and they start chit chatting, whatever. And then whatever he has to go to the bathroom and play beer pong or some shit, and they break off. So she goes back in the main room, and again, Garrett's like making the beeline for her, and she's like, nope. And then she just like starts talking to this random dude, which is Jeremy, whoever he is.
The guy.
They're in a class together too, which it's very funny because even as Hannah, they're narrating this, I'm just like, I don't know, some fucking guy. Like, she doesn't give him much credence either, which is totally fair.
No, Jeremy's one of the friends, isn't he?
Oh, he's one of the friends' boyfriends.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever this guy's name is, call him Joe Schmo. So Joe Schmo, they have a dance. And Hannah's just like distracted, whatever, not really paying attention. But this is where she gets the backstory about Graham.
Being in the fraternity.
Yeah, being in the fraternity. And this guy's also in the fraternity. So he's like, I have to tell you that as my brother in the fraternity, he's this good guy and blah, blah, blah. But actually, he's kind of a douchebag and nobody likes him and whatever.
Nobody likes
you, but everybody likes you. And he just like hooks up with Puck Bunnies and whatever. And yeah, anyway, not super serious. And his dad's this big famous guy and whatever.
Nepotism.
Yeah, so you get the kind of a rough background about Garrett and who like where he's coming from, I guess. And then finally, Garrett gets her attention.
Forcefully.
And kind of forcefully. While she's talking to him, she's kind of like clocking Justin across the way, and he notices that she's clocking him and makes a deal. Because he's like, you're into this guy, aren't you? Like, you're into Cole. Like, you're not his type at all. And she's like, oh, okay, like, what does that mean? And he's like, no, like, not like that. But, like, if you notice the kind of people he dates, they're people with, like, social status. And she's a music major. She's a vocalist. And so, like, kind of nerdy. Because she hangs with the drama kids and, like, you know, the nerd crowd.
The nerd crowd.
Believe me, all my friends when I was in like real university, all of my friends were drama kids and music kids. Like, we were the fucking nerds.
You went A's on ethics papers,
right?
You went to
Nerd.
NASCAR.
No. When I went to UPEI for that year.
Oh, I was like, Rachel, you went to an art school.
Yeah,
of course, all your friends were.
Art school's a whole different ballgame. No, I went to Real Kid University for a year. They were all like music and drama people. I mean, Nazca was a different creature. Anyway, so so he makes her a deal, and he's like, "Listen, I'll take you on a date. Like, you be my date to this party on Saturday, and it will like, you know, you'll get the social status that Cole will be looking for, basically. And
we'll make him want.
We'll make him want you." And she's like, "Oh, fine, okay, I'll tutor you in exchange for this." And then he insists on driving her home. Which is a point
because he's a gentleman.
Well, not even that, but he also doesn't drink. Sorry, he drinks like one beer if it's a game night, or one beer if he has a game the next day, and like he said, a couple beers after a game, basically, like to celebrate. So he's not a big drinker at parties. He just goes to them for like the social thing.
Cause his bros.
Cause bro. So he drives her home, and she does make a point of asking how much he has to drink, and they do fight about it because she's like, I'm just taking a taxi. And he's like, no. Like, I insist to drive you home. And she's like, no, you're not driving me home. And he's like, I'm driving you home. Get the fuck in the car. So
beep, beep, motherfucker.
Exactly. Okay. So that was Wednesday night. And it's funny because I wrote the narrative down here because my brain is melting lately. And I just wanted to keep it organized. And fortunately, it's all like, they go by day to day of all the things that happen, which is a wonderful way to keep a narrative.
Sexting.
They were when he was studying.
What?
So the next day is Thursday, and this is where they have session 1 for tutoring. So she goes over to his place, and she meets the roommates for the first time.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then they go up to his room and they start going through the material. They're gonna anyway. It's systematic the way they go through it, and it's just like they're just covering different philosophers each day and then recapping and anyway, blah blah blah. Boring, nerds.
Boring.
And so in the middle of this tutoring session, he's on his phone and then he's not, and then he's on his phone and then he's not, and she's like, "What the fuck? Put your goddamn phone away!" And he gets another message. She's like, "That's it. Give me your phone." Like, what are you doing? And she's like, "You're sexting in the middle of us." Like, and he's like, "Well, when you read it, I'm telling her not to message me, actually." So then Hannah straight up messages this girl back who's trying to sext him. And she's like, "This is his tutor. He's trying to study. Please stop trying to distract him.
You're annoying me.
You're
Stop."
annoying me." Yeah. And like puts his phone down and he just like laughs at it.
It's the chick who showed up in his room in her...
Kendall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she showed up a couple days prior in her
I should mention too, because
underwear.
I want to say early on in the book you get an interaction with him and Kendall, and Kendall's his like on and off again hookup, who like they kind of were seeing each other a bit, and then
She wants the serious.
well she wanted a serious relationship, and he's just like, "No, I don't do serious relationships."
And then she got sad.
Well, she got real sad, and he was like, "Okay, listen, like I don't, but like if I ever am in the mood to have a girlfriend, you'll be the first person I call." Like that whole shit. Not. And this is from his perspective, where he's like, "I'm never gonna have a girlfriend, so I'm never gonna make that call. No big deal."
Fuck girlfriends.
Yeah. So then the next,
Except for Hannah without an M.
Hannah with no M.
The M is silent.
The next day, which is Friday, we get
Manna.
Oh my god. So the next day we get an introduction to her winter showcase group, who is Cassidy, Donovan, and Mary Jane.
Cassidy's a
Cass
fuck.
is like the biggest
Douche.
drama queen on planet Earth. And Mary Jane, okay, so let's phrase this. So Mary Jane is a songwriter, and for the winter showcase, Hannah and Cass are performing the vocals on her song. And so she's there like kind of project managing this to a point of like how her song should be interpreted and that stuff. Cass, who's also a vocalist, is kind of a piece of shit and is just like walking all over this and doing whatever he wants. And like to the point that it's like super frustrating Hannah, because like this song was supposed to be like a very chill like love song basically, and Cass is turning it into this massive production with like a choir and like restructuring the song and like all this crazy shit.
Well, he starts off, he wants her to sing it differently to match his voice, so that his voice becomes like this,
More distinct.
Yeah. Versus how it should sound with the two of them singing in their own whatever, and it just evolves. And there's the cellist and then the choir.
Yeah, and so like we'll come back to this a couple times, but what you basically need to know is this introduction is just like framing Cass as a douche, and Mary Jane specifically as like non-confrontational about all of it. To the point that like she will not even speak up when she disagrees with Cass.
Yeah, she's
because she has a massive crush on Cash too, which is, it's a whole thing. Saturday is game night for Garrett.
Yeah.
And this is where you get the information about his father, about how he comes to every one of his games.
Oh.
And he doesn't really talk to him. If he wins, he gets a nod, and if he doesn't win, he gets nothing. And he just sits in the back row and watches the game.
Because he's an asshole.
And you get kind of this insight of what kind of parent he is, and how Garrett is just an extension of him and not his son. Like he treats him as like his father's a fucking narcissist, like through and through. And like can do no wrong, and none of it is ever his fault. And like he is so cold and distant with his son, and it's just like this depressing fucking relationship they have. So Sunday,
That sounds like the Menendez brothers. I'm just saying.
like
With
Eva
the
Menendez?
sisters?
Eva Menendez? Is that the
the family that Ryan Gosling married into?
Shut up.
inside jokes? Okay, so Sunday,
Bam.
we get Hannah's chapter, and
Wait, did she go to the game?
no, she doesn't go to the games.
Not yet.
So
Not yet.
he hasn't invited her yet.
Sure
Okay.
hasn't.
That's the cute part.
Yeah, it is.
Will you come to my game?
Will you wear my jersey?
Will you wear just my jersey?
I was gonna say, and nothing else.
And nothing else. So Sunday we get Hannah, and this is where you get some insight with Hannah and her relationship with her parents. And oh my god, I fucking love her parents. It's the whole thing is a shit situation. So Hannah's parents still live in, I think it's Ransom in Indiana, and
Jack, you didn't secretly read this book, did you?
No.
Okay, cool. Her parents still live in Ransom, which is a small town she grew up in. And she, I think, after she was raped at 15, she ended up being homeschooled. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as she could leave that town, she did. And so there's this kind of tension because her parents are stuck in that town because of a financial situation that they're in because they had taken the rapist to court and unfortunately lost. But for so many reasons.
What I found interesting about the way they approached this was they didn't out and out give you all of the information in this one phone call. You slowly learn more and more and more about the depth of it. Like, yeah, okay, like they're just talking about money problems. You don't know necessarily why there's money problems at this point until later into it, and then like you know it's bad, and then you can kind of theorize it's bad, but then when you realize like how bad, you're like, oh, well,
and when you realize how bad it is, you want to fucking stab somebody because it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so this conversation though is about how her parents are not going to be able to make it to, so they usually go to their aunt's house in Philadelphia, and her aunt's house are in Philadelphia. So they meet kind of halfway because they're in Briar University in Massachusetts. They usually meet at the aunt's house for events like Thanksgiving, for example. So the parents would fly to Philly, and then she would fly out to Philly to meet them. And then, but this conversation is about how like, you know, we had to fix something in the car, and we had to like patch the roof in the house, and we don't have the money to come out to Philly for Thanksgiving, and like, you know, I'd really like to see you, but unfortunately we just can't make it. And then Hannah's, of course, like just gutted about that because she's very close with her family
and feels guilty and the this and the that and all the stuff.
Yeah, and it's just so yeah. Anyways, it's very fucking heartbreaking is what it is.
Yep.
And the more you get into this book, especially like retroactively talking about it, I'm just like, oh my god, my heart. Okay. So then
Rachel does have a heart.
I do, and it breaks for this fucking book. Then we go back, that evening we go tutoring. We have to go tutor Garrett, of course, because he's dumb.
He's dumb.
Actually, and to my point of him being dumb.
He's not dumb.
He's actually not. And so like even Hannah's like, you're not stupid. Like why can't you do this? And it's like, oh, it's the fact that you have to apply these bullshit theories like ethics to the problems is that he's having an issue with of like just because like you have to pretend you are the philosopher in this instance and provide details onto how they would go at this problem, not how you would go at this problem. So it's applying it. It's not necessarily knowing it because he knows the information. He's like a history major or something. And so he knows those things. It's just that he can't apply it. So this is like the learning curve thing that he's going through. I can't remember how this comes around, but her roommate Allie is out for the evening. And he, for some reason, like his roommates are out partying or something too. And so it's just the two of them there. And he's like, do you want to like watch a movie or something or watch TV?
Do you want to build a snowman?
And
wait, whose place are they at?
Garrett's. They're always at Garrett's. Almost always. And so she's like, I mean, I guess like, sure. And he's like, well, what are you going to do like when you leave? She's like, I was going to go watch TV at home. And he's like, watch it here. Cause he's getting like, I don't know, he's getting kind of close with her. Like he likes her company, I think is what it is.
She intrigues him too.
Yeah. And like he was getting like kind of mopey about just things. And then she's, you know, in her feels about stuff. So they end up like watching Breaking Bad, like 2 seasons of Breaking Bad or something. And then instead of, cause he was going to drive her home at like 3 a.m. and she's like, no, like it's so late, you're not driving me home, like I'll take a cab. And he's like, the fuck you will at nighttime, you're not doing that at all, so you can just stay over. So they just like, you know, share a bed,
sleep over.
It's fine.
There's only one bed.
Oh, nuts. Over. How about I sleep on top of the blankets and you can sleep under them?
So the next morning we obviously wake up and they're cuddling
with Morningwood.
And she has, it's very funny because she has a moment about it. And he's like, well, that's just what it does. I don't know what you want from me. It's like, if you had one, you would do that too.
This has nothing to do with you. It's everything. It's not you. It's me.
Yeah. So then, oh my God. Yeah. This is where, so she goes to rehearsal. Yeah. Also, fucking Cass, he doesn't rehearse on the weekends. So he's very particular about his rehearsal schedule. And she works. So like she works at a diner. Just a small diner, just to pay for her expenses and stuff. Because she does have a full ride to university, but it doesn't cover her like living expenses.
I like the joke that comes up with that later. He's like, "Oh, what? You're not rich? Fuck, can't do this."
Bye. So Cass is like pushing the envelope on some other things. I think this is where the choir comes in or something. Like, it's a big to do. And apparently Cass had asked MJ out in like, I mean, this is a manipulation tactic. Let's be fair, because she's like, I don't know, not his type, but.
She's not his type.
She's very like meek and quiet and not really like confrontational and shit. And he's like so boisterous and whatever. And like, obviously this is a manipulation thing. So he asks her out on a date and, you know, she accepts, and this is like a thing. So obviously he's getting his choir is basically what I'm getting at.
Who's MJ?
The one
Mary
who wrote
Jane.
the book.
Yeah, she wrote the song.
I see. Okay.
Isn't this the point where Hannah is also like, oh my God, is this song actually about Cass?
Yes, this is where she pieces it together, that she's like, yeah, this like really epic love ballad and all this stuff, and like, why the fuck does it need a choir and a cellist and whatever? And then she's like, did you write this fucking, like, she probably wrote this song about this guy because she's like madly in love with him basically.
And he's a fuckwit.
Oh my God. And so again, like, she's getting the cold feet situation now too, where they're like woke up cuddling, and she's like, nope, can't do that. And so she, instead of coming over to tutor him, she sends him like a test exam basically to do. And so like, she doesn't come and see him that night. So Wednesday I think the previous night he was at like they were having a party at his place or something.
Yeah,
they're watching a football game or something on television.
The boys invited people over for a game or something.
Yes, and she had called him because the next night they were going to do like a movie night at her dorm. And so she wanted to move their
Ryan Gosling movie.
Yes, Ryan Gosling. They wanted. Sean was like, I'm sitting right here, and Allie's like, I don't fucking care. Ryan Gosling. Anyway, so she called. So Hannah called Garrett to reschedule to 7:00 for tutoring.
Yeah, instead of 9.
Instead of 9, and with all the noise in the background and everything, she's like, 7:00, right? And he's like, yeah, 7:00.
No, he keeps saying 9.
He keeps saying 9, but then she's like, no, like 7, and he's like, yep, got it.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, and then he hangs up. And so the next day when she goes over to the house at 7 to tutor him,
all the
guys
are like,
who are downstairs, they're like, wouldn't go up there if I were you. And she's like, haha, like, we have tutoring at 7. He knows, blah blah blah. Opens the door, and he's about to start railing this chick
who's on top of him.
You know, nothing. Basically,
just some
rando. They don't even say who it is. I don't even think it's Kendall.
It's not.
I don't think it is. Anyway, so
because he's broken it off with Kendall.
Yes, she freaks and leaves. Of course, as one does. And she's like, "Fuck you! You don't give a shit about my time. I'm the fuck out of here." And so he chases her, like puts his pants on, whatever, because he didn't get to the good part yet, apparently.
But didn't button them up.
And chases her out to the car. And she's like, you don't respect my time. You are a piece of shit. We're not doing this anymore. We're done.
Go back and get your dick wet.
And then, of course, he's like, hey, I'm not going out with you on Saturday then. Like, the deal's over. And she's like, oh, fine. Like, fine. Like, I'll whatever. I'll continue tutoring you. It's fine. So the next day, which is Thursday, she's tutoring him again.
How fucking long until they have to retake this test or whatever?
It's a week and a half.
Holy
So
fuck.
we started on Wednesday, and it's the next Friday. So we're getting real close, Jack.
Thank fuck.
So this is Thursday. This is the night before. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. It's the following week. So it's like 2 weeks out, basically. She gets it in her head, for whatever reason.
She's got to get comfortable with him touching her if they're going to make Like if it's gonna look real.
Oh, that's right. Okay, because they're talking about the date on Saturday.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like, well, you're gonna have to get used to me touching you. She's like, why are you touching me? He's like, because we're gonna be like going out on a date. It has to look legit.
Yeah.
And he's like, and like maybe I'll kiss you. And she's like, why are you kissing me all of a sudden? He's like, because we're out on a date together on a date. And she's like, well, that's not necessary. And he's like, what do you mean? We can practice if you want. And she's like, bet.
No, he calls her out on like not being a good kisser.
Yes, exactly.
And then she was like, mer, 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 and he's like, mer, 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 and then that's essentially
that's exactly it. And then, do you remember Dean walks in?
They sound like Peanuts characters.
Yeah.
I
fucking love Dean.
So Dean walks in like to borrow something, and he's like, "Whoa, sorry!" And she jumps off of Garrett, and she's like, "We were just practicing." She like just straight up owns it. She's like, "We were just practicing kissing."
Who's Dean?
Dean's one of the roommates. She's like, yeah, we're just practicing kissing because he told me I wasn't a good kisser. But I am. And he's like, well, I mean, you can prove it to me then if you want to practice. She's like, okay. So then she kisses Dean too. But this is the part where I have to mention. You brought up earlier that she had like kind of a spark with Justin.
Yes.
That she was like, I don't get this spark with many people because of her past and her traumas.
She's only slept with one guy and then dated another guy and slept with him. So she's only technically been with two people since everything happened. And she didn't even have that like woozy feeling with
one of them. I can't remember. The second one who she was with for like 8 months, she said. And that was the one that she's like, I haven't felt that way since him, basically.
Oh, yeah. Him, Dylan, I think.
And Devin, yeah.
Am I right to assume that she was a virgin when she was raped?
Correct. Okay. And that is a plot point, actually. Thank you for bringing that up. We will come back to that.
Good job, Jacqueline.
You did it. This is where she has like that spark with Garrett that she was not anticipating. And he is like, just during the whole thing, he's just like quiet. Because he's like, oh, fuck. I'm fucked.
Because he got boner.
Well, of course he got a boner. But, like, he's like, oh, no, I really like this girl. God damn it. Like, and he doesn't do relationships and he doesn't do girlfriends. So he's like, you know.
So maybe I can
in
just
his head
fuck
about
her.
it. Right. So she dubs this the big mistake. So instead of being like, I kissed him, whatever, she's like, nah, the big mistake that happened last night is what she refers to it as, because now she's also fucked.
Not quite, but almost.
Not quite. So the
What
next.
about the other guy?
Dean?
Yeah.
Oh, there was no spark there or whatever. He's just like,
There was for Dean.
Yeah, there was for Dean. And she's just like, it was fine. And then carries on.
Which is funny because Dean's like the man whore of the four of them.
He really, really is.
Well, you know what? John Tucker's the man whore too in the second one.
Yeah. But that's, anyway, plot points. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why John Tucker must die in the movie.
Is it actually?
Yes, he like sleeps with like 5 girls at once. Not like at once together, but like he's like dating around secretly being a douchebag.
Oh.
I want this to be a correlation. That would be amazing. Anyway, so
Could you imagine?
Yeah, I could. So the next day is the party that he's taking her to. It's Saturday night, it's frat party. He goes over to her place to pick her up and like barges through, even though Allie's like, hey, don't barge through. And he walks in and he's like, is that what you're wearing? Because it's like tights and it's like a sweater or something. It's something like very whatever, and the boots. And he's like, no, we must not. And he like goes and rifles through her clothes and pulls her at something to wear, which is endearing as fuck in my opinion. Because he's like, what?
That's endearing?
It is. Because he's very concerned about the job he's doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he's like, no, like he needs to be
Wear
jealous.
my clothes, bitch.
What? They're not his clothes. They're her clothes.
I know, but the clothes he picked out.
Okay, sure. I mean, I think that in the back of his head wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. But he's also like,
oh man, he's totally the type who would take his clothes off and make her wear them.
So anyway, so they go to this party. Obvious, like they have, like everybody in the fucking school is like, who the hell is here with Garrett?
Who you, bitch?
Who are you? And so he introduces her to fucking everybody.
Oh fuck! I was gonna say his name is Dean. It's not Dean. The guy who's Bo. His sister.
Yeah, the quarterback.
Yeah, and his sister was actually because like she's like I don't know anybody, nobody. Blah blah blah. Anyway, his sister ended up being in her program.
She's a couple years ahead.
Yeah, and ended up on Broadway or something.
Yeah, she won the spring showcase or something the previous year or the year before or something. Anyway, for some reason this came up that she was a vocalist and whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, my sister, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, that's your sister?
Yeah.
And they really hit it off and became like good friends or whatever. Talking about anything but football too, which is great. So, because it's his birthday. That's the
hockey,
the party they're at.
Oh,
he's a football player.
He's the football player. I was like, no, Garrett plays hockey.
Yeah, Garrett plays hockey. This is the guy she's talking to, like the sibling or whatever he's the football player. Hockey, I assume the football players have their own story later.
But it's not Justin.
No.
Justin is a football player,
but
though.
Justin, and it's very interesting. So in this party, Garrett is almost like blocking Justin as much as he can from talking to Hannah.
Cock block.
Because like he's totally into Hannah. And like they get little talks here and there, and it's very interesting. So
it's a shift in dynamic.
The next day, Sunday, she goes out for coffee with her like crew of friends, who are all the aforementioned drama nerds. And her friends are Dexter, Megan, Stella, and Jeremy. Jeremy and Megan are dating. Dexter's like, he looks like a fucking linebacker, like he's a huge black dude, but he's like a drama kid, which I love. And Stella's just kind of loud and obnoxious, and I love her.
Isn't Stella the... Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what you're thinking.
You know where I was going.
I know exactly where you're going with that. Stella's in a book. She has her own book later.
What? Not in this series.
No, oh, sorry. Not in this series, I should say. I'm pretty sure she's in a book later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because... No.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool story. nice behind the scenes there. So, anyway...
now I gotta look it up.
So she goes out with... So she's... Hannah goes out with that crew. And while she's getting coffee, she runs into Justin. And Justin is like trying real hard to, number one, ask her on a date, which he does. But he's also like, so are you like with Garrett? Like, what's the deal here? And she's like, I mean, I'm not with Garrett. And he's like, are you like with him? And she's like, no, I'm not with him at all. And he's like, so you just like went on a date? She's like, yeah, he just asked me on a date and I went. And he's like, so I'm going to ask you out then. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, let's go out. And so they set a date for like the next Sunday, I think it is.
He's got some stuff on the go, so he says he's gonna touch base with her.
But I think they set it up for the next Sunday.
Do they?
So it's like it's a full week away. And this timeline is relevant, so that's why I'm keeping track of it. Right. So this is the Monday is the midterm. Oh, sorry, when they get the midterm back. So he wrote the midterm on the Friday. They went out the Saturday night for the party. Sunday, Justin asked her out. This is Monday. This is when he gets his midterm back. And he finds out that he passed. He got like an A- or something, which he's over the moon about. And so he had invited Hannah. And so we need to frame this that like Hannah no longer has to tutor him. He's passed. This is done.
Yes.
And so he has no reason to hang out with her anymore.
Theoretically?
Like the transaction has happened. They went on their date. She helped him pass his midterm. He's back in hockey. Everything's gravy. And
gravy.
So anyway, he was like, hey, we're celebrating Dean's birthday tonight. We're going out to this bar and I want to invite you along because we're either going to be celebrating that I passed my midterm or we're going to be lamenting that I didn't pass my midterm. And at this time too, she has mentioned to him that she does not drink at parties.
Oh.
And the way she frames that is that she says a friend of hers growing up was drugged at a party and taken advantage of. And that's all she says. And so she tiptoes around that subject, but he takes that to heart in a way of like, I'm going to be your protector then. He's like, I want you to come out. I want you to come out and have a good time. I'm not drinking because it's like, I don't drink during the season. I'm the designated driver tonight. I'm taking everyone home. I'm looking after everyone. I will be your protector this evening if you want to have some drinks. No big deal if you want to or don't or whatever, but just so you know, like I am responsible for you 100%.
I love that.
Right? And
that's the cutest thing.
It's fucking
it's
fantastic.
so wholesome. I love it. Anyway.
None of these books get me like that, but I just find that really sweet.
She has rehearsal with Cass and MJ and some more bullshit happens, like the cellist and whatever, like just more crap. And she's like, I'm fucking over this. And so she's like, you know what?
I'm gonna go get drunk.
I'm gonna go have a drink. So she's drinking some pina coladas. Okay. So and true to his word, he sits there with like hawk eyes watching the guy mix the drink and like follows her around all night and like guards the bathroom and she's in the bathroom and like is there. Yeah. It's amazing. And she starts drunk karaokeing and she's a vocalist, right? So it's amazing. And then I want to say Dean at one point is like hitting on her really hard or something.
I think it's
and he steps in and he's like, okay, we're done karaokeing now. Let's go.
Is it Dean or Logan?
It's one of them. It just one of the guys.
Because there's a whole thing with
There's a whole thing with Logan.
I'm guessing that she has not told him that Justin asked her out.
No, you are correct.
Okay.
She hasn't mentioned this at all, and put a pin in that.
Yes.
So we're coming back to it.
Not a segue pin, but
Not a segue pin.
Maybe
a
just
pin.
like a normal cactus pin or something.
It's a metaphorical pin in this instance.
Oh.
Not the literal pins that we had for the detectives.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Okay, so he has to go to the bathroom or something, and so like they are apart for a grand total of like 4 minutes or 5 minutes. And during that 5 minutes, of course, she runs into her ex, who is Devin, I think. Devin. And Devin's there with another gal who's like gorgeous, obviously. And they have a conversation about some stuff.
Is there any reason we do not like Devin?
So, okay.
or-
So the backstory here is that they were together for 8 months. And part of the reason they broke up was because she is, quote unquote, and this is her words, not mine, broken
Okay.
sexually.
Right.
So she can't get there with a guy.
Frigid bitch, we say.
she
Whoa.
can't.
Just joking.
Whoa. That escalated
She
quickly.
can't orgasm.
She can't orgasm with a guy.
Okay.
And she can, but like to her point, she can masturbate and that's fine. And she gets there. But like when there's a guy involved, it doesn't happen for her.
Right.
And so it was very frustrating for him not to be able to do that. And it broke up their relationship as whatever.
Poor ego.
Yeah,
Meh,
right?
meh, meh.
Yeah. Check your ego at the door. So that's the background there. And so she's like half in the bag. And after this conversation with him, she's very in her feels
Full
about
in
it.
the bag.
Well, and she's also like, I'm broken. This is like, what am I doing? I'm going to go on this date with this Justin guy, and it's never going to work out anyway. He's just going to dump me like the rest of them did. That sort of thing. So that's what she's in her feels about. And then she's like, kind of crying. And then Garrett's like, oh my God, why are you crying? And then we need to stop doing this right now. We're drunk. We're having a good time. She's drunk, not him. Anyway, so they go and he gets her calmed down and they sit back down with the guys and whatever. And then the song comes on. Do you remember the song?
Yeah, the one that is mom's favorite song.
It's his mom's favorite song they played at her funeral.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Because she died when he was like 12 or something. He was quite young. She had lung cancer.
And left him with his
his
dad.
horrible father. He's like, oh, come and dance with me. It's a Leonard Skinner song. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, they get up and dance. And she's asking, like, why are we dancing this song? It's a weird song to dance to. No. And
Tuesday's Gone?
Yeah, it's Tuesday's Gone.
Oh my goodness.
Jack consider feels about this. You might want to read this. It's very good.
Might.
So she gets the backstory of like, why are we dancing to this Leonard Skinner song? That's so weird. And he's like, I mean, this is a song that played at my mom's funeral. So it was either sit there and cry about it or get up and dance about it. Is how he phrases it, which is adorable. So they got up and danced about it, and whatever, they go back to their thing. She has another pina colada, and then they call it a night.
Go back to his house.
And they go back to his house, and they go back to his house to party some more because again, Dean's birthday. And then at one point, she's like, "I'm going home," and he's like, "You're not." And he like puts her in her bed and puts her to sleep and whatever, and then he goes back and has some shots with the guys. So she's like there, cuddled up in his bed, done. And then when he goes to bed that evening, she's like, hey, let's do kissy stuff and whatever. And he's like, nope, we're not doing this. We're not. You're drunk. I'm not taking advantage of you. This is not happening. Roll over and go to bed. And she's like, okay. And goes to bed. So
roll over and go to bed. Okay.
So the next day, they wake up cuddling again. And she wakes up before him. And so she starts the inner monologue of the like, I'm broken bullshit that she was on about last night. And she's like, I know how to, like, I'll just ask Garrett to have sex with me and try to fix this. Because I'm really into him. And if I'm into him, then maybe that'll help. And so she propositions him. And he's just like, why? Like, what is this? And then so she tells him the whole story. So this is where you get the full story about the rape, about how it was actually her, not one of her friends who was taken advantage of at a party, and about the situation her parents are in, and like basically shit that she's only ever told a handful of people. And I should mention too, because every so often she'll get this interesting kind of voice in her head, as it were, and it's her like therapist saying things to her, which I love, about like her confidence and not letting things hold her back and all these, like how her trauma hasn't, like it doesn't define her and all these things. So I really like that aspect to it too, of like, we're looking at a person who's gone through the work and the growth after a traumatic event. And so you still get that like that nice aspect of like, yeah, there's this bullshit, horrible thing that happened, but like you can move past it and move through it and continue growing and flourishing from that.
Except not really, because you're still fucked over it.
Well, but here's the thing though, is that like, yeah, she's still fucked over it, but this is her trying to work through it still and deal with it. So like, we're going on the journey with her in this instance, and that's not like
as fucked as she could be.
Not nearly as fucked. And not to mention like, she is fully cognizant of the like, hey, let's try to fix this instead of dwelling on it or like covering it or band-aiding it or whatever.
She owns it.
She totally owns it. And she like, and even though it's like, I'm sorry you feel that way sort of situation where I'm like, it's too bad that you think you're broken. You're not. Mm-hmm. And Garrett is the backup here that really solidifies that for her.
His approach to this.
Oh my God. Okay.
Just like.
I have one thing.
What is it?
He's very lovely thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like she seemed like she was like pretty hammered.
Yep.
And like, maybe he just should have slept somewhere else.
Here's the thing. And I think he says, I think the phrase is, he's like, I'm a gentleman,
but I'm not a saint.
But I'm not a saint. Yeah, it's something along those lines.
But also, he told her that he would protect her through the night when she was drinking.
That's
so if he
true.
slept
Like if you just
else
leave
in
her,
a house full of like
that's true.
guys.
Let's go with that one.
That's totally fair.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah. I mean that makes a lot of sense, because like there's one thing to leave her alone in the room while you're still in the house. Yeah. It's another thing to leave you alone in a room and sleep elsewhere. Like that's a whole different ball game. Yeah. So, because I mean, I think at one point she's like, I'll sleep on the couch downstairs. You're like, the fuck you won't.
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
I think, like, and that was previously like, it was, it's like, no, you will not. Like, it's not safe.
He gets advice from Birdie.
He goes to Birdie, who's like the sage guru of the hockey team. He's a senior.
Oh, okay.
He should have been, sorry. Everyone was like, you could be the captain. He's like, nah, I'm all good. Don't want it. And it's just, and he's been with his lady for like 4 years at this point or something. And it's like, it's one of those like, oh my God, like university relationships never last sort of thing. And they're still together. And I'm like, oh my God, this is wholesome.
He's also known as like
the secret keeper. Yeah. He's got so many secrets that like he will not ever share. So Garrett goes to him for advice about like, basically like,
how
hey,
to approach a virgin.
Yeah. Because he's treating this as like almost the first time, like her first time almost to kind of think of it as a reprogrammed situation.
I think he also looks at it in terms of like he needs to be sensitive about it and cautious about it the same way you would be with a virgin, because of like just that sensitivity to it. Because he doesn't want to tell Birdie, because at this point Birdie can probably figure out that it's Hannah. Because he and Hannah have been hanging out.
Well, and so Birdie had just met Hannah like the night before too, at the party for Dean. So like obviously. Yeah,
so he tries to keep it like respectful of Hannah's information while still like giving information that could provide
context.
And accurate.
Similar like results. But a different explanation.
And Birdie gives the advice that like, especially because Birdie mentions that like his girlfriend was a virgin when they first started dating, and he mentions that like, oh yeah, there's like, is she like a romantic person, or is she like a no bones kind of, and
like religious, or
well, anyway, like, so the context is important. And
it was just a really great interaction.
It was very good.
Also, I feel like even if she's like not a virgin, it's different when you're like sleep with someone for the first time. Like if it's that person, it's not necessarily just like, oh yeah, I've had sex before, so I can just have sex with anyone now.
That's a good point.
Like if she takes it more seriously than some of the
wants
rest
to make
of
her
us
comfortable.
hoes.
Yeah, his big thing is he just wants her to be comfortable. Like he's taking this very seriously, and that she's giving him she's trusting him with something that is very kind of sacred and important, and he doesn't want her to think that he's not taking it seriously, and he's probably taking it more seriously than she is at this point.
And to your point,
Well, yeah, she's just kind of trying to get over the trauma.
yeah,
like
dead ass. She's like, I'd like to get through this, please. Like,
yeah.
can we?
Can you just fuck me so I can like
literally?
move on?
Okay, so Jacqueline, to your point here,
Lots of points.
Lots
to
of
all
points.
of the points.
So they don't immediately have sex. So what he does is, because he starts going down on her and it's not working, and he's like, okay, wait, let's go back a minute. You can masturbate and get off, right? And she's like, yeah. She's like, okay, well, that's what you're gonna do.
Well, and it's not even.
Well,
just
I was
that.
wondering why she just didn't do that with like Dylan or
Hold on.
David or Dean or whatever the fuck his name was.
It's
Devin.
It's the fact that he recognizes like how she needs to feel secure and like. It was that moment where you're like, this is why women read men written by women. Like,
This is the female gaze.
You found it. Congrats.
I found it.
It's like a man looking for the clitoris.
Oh, finally.
So he asked her to masturbate,
Because he recognizes that she needs to feel the
but
way.
they're masturbating together,
Yes, which is hot as fuck.
which is very hot. He's sitting there jerking it as well. And it's interesting because I'm going to get you to read that part actually because it's a very good fucking scene for a number of reasons. It shows their dynamic.
Yeah.
And it also, because he's in his head about it too because he's never masturbated in front of a girl either.
Right.
He's like, yeah, I jerked it a couple times, but like I've never full on done this in front of somebody.
Yeah.
So he feels performative as well. And so it's out of his comfort zone.
Uh-huh.
And so is this really like,
It's a leveling of the playing
oh
field.
my god, it's so well written,
Yeah.
and just like it's such an amazing way to show that scene.
But I like again going back to like I fucking loved the minute where he recognized what she needed and why she wasn't getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't take it personally. He wasn't like,
There's no
shit, this
ego.
this isn't
Yeah.
about me.
I make girls come all the time, bro.
Literally.
Yeah, like it was
Well,
just
and,
like
and even like his thing, he's like, this is out of my wheelhouse too, but
Yeah.
we're gonna do it. Let's try it. Like,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm confused about their like. Are they just like
they're friends.
1 minute like we're just like hanging out watching like 51st dates, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, you're gonna masturbate now,
no,
and
so,
then I'll join you.
They
Like,
play-
are they
so if you-
friends or are they like?
Well, so you remember, so the night before, she was like broken, whatever. The next morning, she wakes up and this is still in her head.
Yes.
And they're cuddling because they're friends who cuddle now, apparently. Well,
Right.
sorry. She slept over at his place because he said he was looking after her that night because they were
Yes.
celebrating. The next morning when she woke up, she was like still the unbroken situation. And she's like, but she trusts Garrett. They've built this relationship over the last like week and a half where she's just like, why do I fucking trust you so much? But I do. Like, it's one of those situations where, you know, she spends a lot of time with him, but doesn't really like, I don't know. They just connect on that way that
Yeah.
she's like, I have a spark with this guy too. And I also trust him. And he even says on occasion, he's like, yeah, like you can trust me. And she's like, I really can, can't I? Like, she like totally lets her guard down around him because she does 100% trust him.
don't
and-
they arrange it though for like the next night? Like they don't do it after they wake up.
No, it's it's the evening of this
Yeah.
day.
They make so they set a plan for like, okay, tonight you're gonna come over and we're gonna do the sex, and then she shows up to do the sex, and as Rachel said, she gets into her own head about it, and she's not getting there, and Garrett's trying, and then
and then this is the thing, comes back to the therapist thing too.
yeah,
Where he specifically, like Garrett specifically says, like, we're gonna do this. We're not gonna just straight, because she's like, why can't we just have sex? He's like, no. Like, we need to work up to this.
Yeah.
And we need to take baby steps. And her therapist was the one that was like, you always need to take baby steps towards your goals.
Yeah.
And so this was like, she's like, okay, cool. Like, you're obviously on the right track here. So
And
she trusted him in that.
and again he knows what she like. That's the fucking
Well, and
brilliance of it.
he literally did he Googled this and did research on it.
Yes.
Like, about how to like not reprogram, but like fundamentally reprogram yourself to enjoy sex again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
he
it was
wanted to
taken away
help
from
her.
her. Yeah. And again, like, because there was this sexual trauma when she was 15 about being raped, but then there's this additional sexual trauma that comes from like having a partner who wasn't supportive
Yes.
and in what she needed. And so like she has this added notion of like being broken because of her past traumas, but like she just needed a different support system.
Yeah.
I think
being broken and also like nobody being willing to
To go the extra distance to help her.
be broke, like let her be broken
I think
or whatever.
It reads very much like Devin reads, not that we get a lot of him, but like when you get pieces of that relationship, it reads very much like a 19-year-old boy in a relationship. Like,
which I mean, really, it was.
Yeah.
I think they were like 20 or something.
Yeah,
So
it's not unrealistic. It's just, and I think that's kind of why like Garrett going above and beyond hits so hard, because like they are young, and you wouldn't expect a 19-year-old guy to be like, all right, how do I reprogram my girlfriend who's it's not always necessarily something that's going to be thought of. And that's something that I found that Elle Kennedy has done well in her writing is show aspects of that age range that are realistic. Like in the second book, I'm not to get too much into it, but like there's a moment which I found kind of like almost cringy, but it was kind of supposed to be cringy in the way that it developed and went through and all of this stuff. And it was like, that's teenage, he's 21, but like that's that mindset. I mean, I remember reading 21 and being a fucking idiot.
So dumb.
Right?
Same.
And like,
not just you, Ash, and all of us were.
Yeah, right? And it's those moments where you're like, I can see that happening. I can see that progress happening. I can see being in a relationship with a 19, 20-year-old guy and then being like either making you not being able to come all about you, or like trying really hard but like not actually like trying really hard in a sense that you think they're trying and they think they're trying but they're not actually trying because they don't know what trying is.
Well, and to even stop and be considerate about it goes a big way.
She was also probably not like
and
not like the right place, but like
she probably couldn't articulate it either.
It's not.
You're right.
You can't like say it's all on him because he didn't try or do the right things or whatever. She probably wasn't saying like, I wonder, did he even know that happened to her?
But that's what I mean. Like it's that mindset that all of them are in. Like she didn't know what she needed to ask, and that's what makes Garrett such a great character, great book boyfriend, I guess is the best way to put it, because she didn't think to ask. All she knows is that she wants to not be quote unquote broken. And he's like, all right, I'll help you do that.
And then did the legwork to figure it out.
Exactly.
And then
that's
did research. Oh,
right.
It's that extra
you
mile
love to see it
that we want in the books, right? And like, because you don't.
I bet you it's good for his sex life too.
Well, I mean, yeah, good for his ego, but like, that's not necessarily work that you would expect a 21 whatever year old guy to do. Not because he's not capable, but because, well, mentally he probably, I mean, they don't, generally speaking,
I mean, we've met 21-year-old boys. I use the term boys.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, and that's why Garrett is such a good book boyfriend in this. Like, it shows him very much as the youth. It shows him in his youth in some capacities, but then you get these glimpses of like intense maturity.
Oh God, mature, and it's, you can definitely, the further you get into the book, you can definitely point out the like, he's mature well above his age for a myriad of reasons. Until
there is a point, and we'll get to that when it happens. I'll go back to that when it happens. There's a moment where I'm like, oh, there it is.
The 21-year-old.
There's that youth male
What,
stupidity.
when he has to fight Justin for her?
Yeah, like Rochambeau style.
I'll go first. Okay. So they get there together.
Yep.
Everything's hunky-dory. She's like, I'm not broken anymore. Now let's have actual sex. And he's like, nope.
Yeah, which I totally respect him for, too.
100%. And I'm just like, you got piss and vinegar on you there, boy. That's impressive. The next day, they
go to practice.
They make each other come the next day. Is the next evolution of that.
Oh,
and then he has to he's like, okay, cool. So we did that, and I gotta go to practice by. And she's like, oh, okay. And
but you can stay here.
He's like, you can hang out here until we get back. Like, we're gonna be like 2 hours or whatever. Like, no big deal. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, I'll hang out here and just watch TV. And he's like, just don't watch Breaking Bad without me. For the love of God, don't do that. And she's like, okay, I will not. I promise.
Because we've all been there.
We've all fucking been there.
Dean, come have sex with me.
Oh God, he's at practice. So Instead of
Also no.
Also no. So instead of watching TV, she decides she's going to make lasagna.
Oh.
So Dean is the one that cooks in this. It's Dean, right? Yeah, it's Dean. Dean is the one that cooks.
Tucker?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember, Ash. I'm sorry. The guy who's from Texas, is it Tucker?
Tucker's the ginger.
Yeah, it must be Tuck. Okay. So he's the one that cooks generally. So like they have a stocked kitchen.
Yeah.
And so it's got all this stuff. And she's like, oh, they have all this stuff to make lasagna. I'm going to make lasagna. I'll do a double batch. And she calls her mom.
Yeah.
Specifically to be like, hey, do you got a couple of minutes to go through this recipe with me of Nana's whatever lasagna? And she's like, what are you doing cooking lasagna? She's like, oh, I'm cooking lasagna for a bunch of hockey players. And she's like, why are you cooking lasagna for a bunch of hockey players, sweetie?
Because I'm trying to get one of them to fuck me, Mom.
Wow.
This reminds me of a conversation I had with my mom when I was hooking up with a guy. And she was like, are you dating this person? No. Do you want to be dating this person? No. Are you friends with benefits?
Oh, God.
No, Mom. Where did you learn that word?
There's no benefits to this friendship.
No. I love the moment where she's like, do I double it? Do I triple it? Like, there's 4 guys, but I saw how much he ate at the diner. So like, I think probably more like 4 slices of pea. Like, it was just,
She does the mental math of how much hockey players scarf down.
yes.
And so she makes a double batch and they basically eat all of it. And I should mention too that like, cause you get this from Garrett's perspective at one point and it breaks my heart, but he's like, the last time a woman cooked for me was before my mom died.
Yes.
And because again, he doesn't do relationships. He has no female figures in his life at all, like no extended family to speak of. And
no sisters or anything.
well, and his father doesn't cook. This is something to pay attention to as well. His father's a douche. And so Garrett's always had to look after himself. And so this is where you start getting a little bit of his like mature background situation where it's like he's always had to fend for himself and there was nobody else there like to care for him.
They didn't have like a cook or a maid or something?
Nope. And
he has to figure out how to make his girlfriend come on his
well,
own.
and there's that. And so this is like a moment for him where he's like, I'm so fucked. I'm so fucked. Like, he's got it hard for this gal.
Maybe I do want a girlfriend.
And maybe I do want a girlfriend who I know how to make come and will make me lasagna.
Aww,
'Cause
that's
I-
all I want to.
Right? I
A
know.
girlfriend you can make come and will make you lasagna?
I'll make lasagna at least.
Okay.
Okay. The next day is Halloween. And we learn a little bit about how Garrett hates Halloween.
No, I liked him.
Jacqueline, just
What?
listen. So, she is supposed to go to the dorm, like she's supposed to be serving drinks at the dorm crawl because she lives in the dorms. And she bails on that because she's just like not feeling it because, and she gets a bit of the conversation earlier in the day about, or no, sorry, it's the night before when they're eating lasagna about how Garrett's not into Halloween and it's a bummer and whatever. And he's just like, he blows it off as like, well, I'm just not into childish holidays anymore. I haven't been since I was 12.
Yeah.
When my mom died. We get it. You have a dead mom.
Oh, buckle up, buddy.
Join the fucking club, bro.
Jesus. So,
Well, then.
so then she's like gets in her feels about this, and she's like, I don't want to leave. Like, I'm not into this. I'd rather be hanging out with Garrett. And so she bails on the dorm crawl and goes to hang out with Garrett. And he's just home alone by himself, like watching documentaries.
Are they true crime?
No, he was watching a history documentary of the Civil War, and then he couldn't find the remote. There was no batteries in the remote, so he didn't change it. So he was watching one about like milking cows or something.
Yeah.
It was very odd, whatever it was. And she's like, why are we watching this? And he's like, it's very riveting and all this stuff. And she's like, why actually are we watching this? And he's like, the remote has no batteries in it. It's like, okay. So then they get into the conversation about why Garrett hates Halloween. And this is where you learn about how his father beats him. Has beat him when he was younger.
And the first time he ever did it.
So the first time I ever laid hands on him was Halloween when he came home. Yeah, he came home from Halloween and he doesn't, and this is the thing, it's like, this is too real. He doesn't even remember what he had said to his father at the time to set him off. But his father like shoved his face into the wall and broke his nose basically. And left him with a bunch of bruises and cuts. And like as soon as and this was shortly after his mother passed away. And so as soon as he wasn't beating on his mother anymore, because he was,
right,
he started beating on his son. And so this continued in his life until he was big enough to fight back, is how he phrased it, which would have been like, 16, 17. And to the point of he frames it as like, it would never be to the point where it breaks some bones or anything, because then I couldn't perform playing hockey.
Right.
So
and
would never,
people would know.
Well, I mean, I don't think he cared about that because he broke his fucking nose.
Oh,
The nose you could hide with playing hockey.
Yeah. So that was that. This is where you get
or
his like,
a kid on his bike or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like kids being kids. He's like 12 years old. So that's why Halloween does not sit well with him anymore. He doesn't celebrate it.
I thought you were going to tell me that he came home and he was like dressed up like a princess or something.
No. So
my story's way more fun.
let's go with yours.
Less traumatic.
So Hannah mentions to him that one of the ways her therapist helped her get through some of the bad memories that she has is to make new memories about them. And so she's like, why don't we make new memories about Halloween then? And they go upstairs and have smexy times. And she, it's very funny because she is like, so this is Thursday. She has dorm mate, what's her name? Tracy? I think it's
Allie.
Tracy.
Oh.
No, that's her roommate.
Her car.
Yeah, she has Tracy's car, so she has to go home. And he's like, no, you have to stay. We'll just tell her someone stole her car. And she's like, no, I got to go home. I got to bring her car back and whatever. So she ends up going
21-year-old male bullshit.
Right. It's very funny. So the next day is the game against Harvard.
She takes his car.
He wants her to go to the game.
Finally.
She takes his Jeep and loads up the nerds, and the nerds all go to the hockey game.
Puts up the nerd.
The nerd patrol.
Get
They go
in
to
the
the
car,
Well, and a lot of
nerds.
them, it's very funny because I think it's Dexter or somebody is like, I need to relish in this moment because no one's ever going to believe me that I was in Garrett Graham's car. Like, it's just, it's one of those like cheeky little throwaways. And I'm like, this is funny. Like the nerd crew in the jock's car, like in university. It's very funny.
And relatable to
It's so fucking relatable. Jesus Christ. So when I think they win the game. I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
something happens at the game, and his
Dad.
father actually talks to him after this game, which is very rare, and demands his attendance at Thanksgiving dinner
Because his girlfriend wants him there.
because his father's girlfriend would like to meet him.
Oh.
And first of all, Garrett's
Hannah's
like,
not going home for Thanksgiving, so she can go to Thanksgiving and meet his dad.
so after that, he gets on the bus and, they go back, and Logan is like kind of twitchy and being weird because and not to mention the whole team saw him with Hannah because they like had a hug afterwards sort of thing. And she's driving his car and they're like, okay, you're obviously dating, which they're not, but that's fine.
Not yet.
Not yet. So Logan's kind of being twitchy and whatever, and they're sitting beside each other. And so very close to the end of this bus ride, Logan's finally like, I got it. Listen, we have to talk. And he's like, what is wrong? He's like, I need to tell you about this thing I heard at this party. And he's like, okay, what's up? Like, it's the Halloween party the night before. And he's like, okay, cool. So Justin Cole said that he was going out on a date with Hannah on Sunday. And of course, he's taken aback by this. He's like, what? There's no way. Like, she would have told me, right? And he's like, listen, I'm just like, Logan's like, you're my friend. You're my best friend. This is just, I need to tell you about this. I don't know if he's full of shit or not, but like maybe ask Hannah about it, whatever. He's like, okay, cool. Thanks for telling me. He immediately, as soon as he gets home, goes to Hannah's and confronts her about this. And she's like, well, number one, what are you doing here? And he's like, okay, what the fuck? Like, you're going on a date with Cole? And she's like, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to cancel or not, is the way she phrased it. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, he's like, this is like a thing. Like, we have a thing. I thought we had a connection or whatever. She's like, you don't do relationships. You don't do girlfriends. So, like, what am I supposed to think about this? And in his head, he's already like, no, you're my girlfriend. And he just has never articulated that to her.
Right.
But he also plays the timeline game. Like, well, if they had the conversation before we did
we
this.
kissed and all this stuff.
Like
yeah.
before we did this.
And then, and admittedly, like, this is one of those, like, miscommunications done well. Because it's immediately fleshed out, and there's no one's walking, like, he does barge out being like, we're fucking done. We're done this. Like you were like, we were supposed to be together sort of thing and all this jazz.
I'm
and
mad.
he's like, meh. And then, so he leaves and he's about to like check out and she runs after him in her pajamas, which admittedly cold. Immediately, she's like, you didn't let me finish what I was saying.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, what were you saying? And she's like, I hadn't decided yet if I wanted to go out with Justin because I didn't know how you felt about us. And now that I know how you feel about it, I have just canceled my date with him. And he's like, okay. And she's like, now I'm going to be your girlfriend. And he's like, okay, good conversation. And then
bam, dating.
Bam, dating. That's it. It even says in the notes, bam, dating. And this is like, again, I come back to this book of like, you've got 21-year-olds communicating. And I'm like, what a perfect world this is.
But also, okay, you have 21-year-olds communicating, but you also have 21-year-olds acting like 21-year-olds in which they are like
a little bit shitty sometimes. Yeah. So it's too real. I love it. Okay. So then we jump ahead 2 weeks and she gets dropped from her showcase group.
Because Cass is a dick.
Because Cass is an asshole. Because Cass is a piece of shit.
And
MJ's going along with it. And MJ like went to bat for Cass even to be like, yes, this should be a single person singing only and it has to be Cass's voice. Male voice only. So obviously she's like having a fit about this because now she has to scramble to come up with a song. And in the meantime, she sang to Garrett once.
Tell me she sings Tuesday's Gone.
No.
She sang MJ's song.
Well, no. She started singing part of her own song at one point that she had started writing.
Yeah.
And she never finished or whatever. So now she's like, okay, well, I'm just like, she talks to her advisor and her advisor's like, do a solo piece, whatever. And, because of this situation, we'll let you do your own original piece that you wrote, even though like you're supposed to be partnered with a songwriter. This is an extreme circumstance, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
But you can only win for vocalist,
not songwriting. Yeah. Because this, I should mention, Jack, the winner of this showcase gets like a $5,000 scholarship, which she needs because, again, parents, not money.
The one thing she wants is the cellist.
Yeah, she asked for the cellist because the cellist who was going to be working with them originally, like, Cass gave them so much shit and, like, ended up not working with them. And Hannah's immediately like, give me that cellist. The one that Cass was a piece of shit. Give me. That's all I want. And so it's a cellist. It's a cellist and her playing piano and then singing. And that's her piece. And she like works her nose to the grindstone on it.
She's playing piano and singing.
Mm-hmm. So then we get Thanksgiving at his father's.
At the Graham household.
He lives in Boston in a fancy neighborhood in a brownstone. And
he's a piece of shit.
He's such a fucking piece of shit. So everything, number one, as soon as his girlfriend answers the door, and immediately Garrett introduces himself that like, oh, hey, I'm Garrett. Like, it's nice to meet you. And then leaves an opening for her name. And then she realizes that her boyfriend has never told his son about her.
Yeah. And
this is the first time he's even meeting her or hearing about her at all. And so that's fucking awkward. And it's a huge red flag, obviously. And so we go through this dinner and it's the fucking worst. And everything is just tension, and Garrett's just like wound so fucking tight, and he does not want to be here. He avoids his bedroom like the plague because like that's where all of those shitty memories are about his father hitting him. Hannah notices that number one, I think her name's Cindy. We'll call her Cindy. Is wearing like a black shawl over her cocktail dress with long sleeves, and it's like boiling hot in this house. And she's like, that's very weird. It's a weird thing to do. And then likewise, when they're like dishing up dinner or whatever, Cindy reaches up to grab something and Hannah notices the marks on her wrists. And Hannah's immediately like, oh my fucking God, like he beats her too, doesn't he? Just like his son and his wife. Like Jesus fucking Christ. And Garrett comes to a similar conclusion because when they're finally leaving, he goes to like hug her goodbye and she flinches at him.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, like it just gutted. And I'm like, yeah. And he has the same reaction of like, oh my fucking God, like you're scared of me. Like you think I'm going to hit you. And so he has a conversation with her about like, listen, that monster has hit me and he has hit my mother, and if he hurts you too, you need to leave this relationship. Yeah. He is not a good guy. He's a fucking monster. And you get this kind of background about Cindy too, that like shortly after they started dating, he insisted she moved in and insisted she leave her job. And he's like so fucking controlling and domineering, and yet would never even tell his son about her. Like, it's so like the domestic violence here is like, it's too fucking real, and it's so fucking intense, and it's just horrendous. And so Garrett and of course Garrett and Hannah like leave, because number one, like Garrett has been like, if you ever need me, here's my phone number, you can call me, I will help you out any way I can, etc. But you need to get the fuck away from this monster.
And what does she like deny it, or does she?
She doesn't. She doesn't say shit. She does not say anything, and then leaves, and that's that. And then another week passes, and their finals are coming up. Hannah goes to one of the games. I think it's an away game. Like it's not on their campus.
No, it's away, but it's not too far, I think, is one of the
things. And it's when because she goes down to the tunnel. She's hanging out with Birdie's girlfriend, who like they're BFFs now. And they go down to the tunnel, like the players' tunnel or whatever, afterwards to just like wait for them. And as they're talking or whatever, she runs into somebody, or like she's leaving or whatever. She runs into somebody, like physically runs into someone and freezes. And you get a bit of the backstory previously of her rapist who went to court, and Hannah's mother admittedly did the due diligence of like, after she was raped, took her to the hospital to do the rape kit and give her testimony to the cops and all this stuff, and went through the proper channels of how you're supposed to handle this. And so all of that court information was documented. And what it came down to, because court fucking systems, was her word against his word, and they had a big expensive lawyer, and all of his friends lied for him. And so this piece of shit rapist got off because the friends lied.
And that's why the women choose the bear.
So the lesson of the day is hold your friends accountable. She runs into literally one of the guys that lied for him.
There's also a thing where when she was living in the town, or no, she went back to visit, and she was at the...
Oh, okay. Let me finish fleshing this out. So her family lost the case because the friends lied. And not even that, but the rapist's mother was the mayor.
Oh my God.
Of the town. And so they countersued for defamation.
Yeah.
And won. And so the parents had to pay their lawyer fees too. And so they had to pay their own lawyer fees and this high-powered lawyer fees as well. And so they are almost bankrupt and cannot afford to move out of that town, because they have to fix up their house and stuff before they can sell it in order to move. So they're stuck there, and they're pariahs, as you can imagine. And so this is why she was also homeschooled, as I mentioned before, because she could not go back to school because she had to see that guy every fucking day. And yeah, there was a restraining order. He had to stay He had to stay outside of 100 feet of her, but even still, like, everybody at that school just treated her like a monster.
Well, and her mom was a teacher and lost her job.
Yeah, her mother was a primary school teacher and lost her job because of it, which is fucking crazy. Anyway, all of it just boils my goddamn blood. And so to your point, when she came back that one time to visit at Christmas, I think it was,
they went to the hardware store.
She was in a hardware store with her father. And one of the guys, this kid in particular, his father made a comment to her in front of her and her dad about her being a little slut and wanting it.
Oh my God.
And so her father dropped the guy and just like knocked him fucking cold out.
And then he was going to press charges, but the guy who owns the hardware store.
The owner of the hardware store was like, no, this guy was provoked.
Instigated.
And so they dropped the charges.
So
anyway,
she runs into this guy.
So she runs into this kid who lied about her being raped. Yeah, committed perjury under oath. And she freezes. She just straight up freezes, and she's like, "Oh my fuck!" Like, just cannot, like, going back through the whole thing of like this trauma and all this bullshit that she has had to deal with. And Garrett comes up and he's like, "What is wrong? Like, what's going on?" And she just turns, like, she just white as a sheet looks at this guy. And Garrett just immediately is like,
Is it him?
is it him? And she said, no, it's one of his friends. And he's like, one that lied for him. And she just nods. And off he fucking goes. Because now he has to confront this piece of shit. And Garrett just tears him a new one. And he just calls him out about being protect a rapist piece of shit and lying under oath and being a fucking coward, and just like tears him a new one. And then the guy like comes back at him, and Garrett just fucking punches him and drops him. And I think Logan gets in between them, and he punches Logan too, because he like blacks out in rage. And I should mention too, because the previous conversation, one of the previous conversations that Hannah and Garrett had when they were driving back from Thanksgiving, was Garrett kind of going through this thought process of being a fucking piece of shit like his dad. Mm-hmm. And he's like, if my father is capable of doing that, how am I not capable of doing that? And Hannah's like, you don't understand that, like, you would never hurt somebody you love. That's not a thing that you would do. You're incapable of doing that. And he's like, but what if I could? And she's like, you just can't. You're not capable of doing that. Like, what would you do if you found me that I cheated on you or something? He's like, well, I'd just be really mad and whatever. And she's like, exactly. You would never lay fucking hand on me, would you? And he's like, no, I wouldn't. And she's like, exactly. Like, that's the point she's trying to make. And so this is solidifying his thing of like, I'm a piece of shit monster. I just blacked out and attacked a person. And so he gets in his fucking head about it so bad, about like, if I'm capable of doing this, I'm capable of so much more, about being a terrible person and stuff like that. So he's in his head about this. So put the pin in that. So he gets suspended for one game because he's attacked somebody on, during a school game, basically. Mm-hmm. The other guy doesn't push charges or anything. He just like leaves
because he knows he's a fucking.
He knows he's a piece of shit. And so unfortunately though, like, and Hannah kind of like nothing much is said about it, but Garrett has to share part of Hannah's story in order to put context to why he attacked this guy.
Hannah
basically.
gives permission.
And Hannah gives permission to do that. And so like it gets out in little pieces that this is what had happened. Oh gosh. The next big scene we have is Garrett's fucking dad shows up at the diner she works at. And of course, Garrett's dad heard about this one game suspension bullshit, and is like a piece of shit about it, obviously. Mm-hmm.
And it's all her fault because blah, blah, blah.
So what we also don't know behind the scenes too is that his girlfriend has left him. We don't get that until later on, but this has happened too. So like his blood is boiling. This guy, like Phil's, and he's a fucking narcissist, so like none of this is his fault. No. It's his son's fault. He's a piece of shit. And of course, by proxy, it's her fault, because again, he doesn't like women. Surprise. Anyway,
bear.
So he goes to her work and basically
stalks her.
Well, he does the posturing bullshit of like, I'll sit here and wait until you have a minute to chat. And she's like, I have like 7-hour shift. Like, you're not gonna sit here and wait for 7 fucking hours. She's like, anyway, I'll take a break. And then goes out and has a conversation with him outside. And he's just like, you're gonna be breaking up with my son. And she's like, the fuck I am. And he's like, listen, what you need to know about the situation is that I bankroll everything about him. I pay for his car, I pay for his food, I pay for his university, I pay for everything. I will cut him off if you don't do that. And she's like, she goes through the mental math of like, okay, well, he can get a job. And then, and then you have this back and forth about sussing out. He's like, oh, you think he can get a job? If he gets a job, he won't be able to play hockey. Can't play hockey, then what's the point of like, that's what brings him happiness, which means he will leave hockey for you. Is that like, that's what you're going to do? Mm-hmm. He'll resent you forever. And like, he just like boils it right out. But
does he also offer her money?
Nope.
No. Oh, good.
He does not.
I love that plot point.
But the thing, and what the audience knows, and what Garrett knows, and what his father doesn't know, and what Hannah doesn't know, and this is important, is that Garrett's grandparents, I should say, have always thought that Phil was a piece of fucking shit. So this is his mother's parents.
Right.
Always thought Phil was a big piece of shit. Like, they took steps behind Phil's back before his mother passed away to put a trust in Garrett's name of money. And that it like basically sets him up for life almost. Like at least 5 or 6 years plus education and stuff. So
and
like,
he can pay his dad back.
And he can pay his father back for all the things that he paid for, because he keeps a meticulous spreadsheet of everything his father has paid for over the years so he can pay him back. But Hannah doesn't know this, and Phil doesn't know this. So the two people having this conversation about breaking up with Garrett don't know the big key that Garrett's like laughing all over the bank. He gets his trust when he turns 21. This is December. He turns 21 on January 1st.
Okay.
And so he hasn't mentioned any of this, of course, because his father would go behind his back and try to get access to that trust. So he doesn't play that card. And he never mentioned it to Hannah because it just never came up in conversation. It's not really a big, like, again, they've known each other for like 2 months or something. Mm-hmm. So it's just like hasn't come up. Hannah does the thing that nobody wants her to do and straight up breaks up with him. And the reason she cites, and it breaks my fucking heart, is he gets in his head thinking like, oh my God, it's because of the fighting or I'm a monster and all this. Yeah, she starts avoiding him, and then they have the breakup conversation. And because he's going back through the systematic, like, no, she said this and she was okay with this. And anyway, he just shows up at her place because, like Ashton said, avoiding. And so she's like, no, like, because they got to the I love you stage and stuff. And she's like, we're moving too fast. And like, maybe we should date other people and whatever. And like, we should probably try out some other experiences. Cause like, we're 21 and we just said, I love you to each other. And like, is this it? And that stuff. And so it always comes back to like, well, I think we should see other people and we should try dating other people. Like, I've only been with like 2 people. I should date other people and all this stuff. And so that's her go-to. And he cites her on that several times.
Which is brilliant.
Anyway, so after they have the breakup thing, she does her winter showcase.
And wishes he was there.
She aces the winter showcase. She does her own song. And it's like a heartfelt love ballad, and it's just her on the piano with a cello just like belting this out. And as you can imagine, she's in her fucking feels anyway because of all of this shit. Mm-hmm. Having to lie to the person she loves and having to dump him and all this other crap. And so she's like half bawling on stage singing this song, and it's very like passionate. And surprise, she ends up winning. But when she's done, she like goes to leave, and like to leave the whole thing. Like she doesn't want to watch the end, none of this bullshit. And Garrett catches up with her, of course. And
because he was there.
Because he was there watching it. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I wouldn't be anywhere else. Like, why? Of course I had to come here and watch your showcase. And one of the things he asks her is how many people she's dated so far. And she's like, well, none. And he's like, okay, just checking. And then they carry on. And she gets, she finds out she wins the scholarship and all this stuff. And then we jump to winter break. So he has like games on either end of winter break. So whatever. She goes to Philly to be with her parents are there, fortunately. And she's just like mopey
woman mope.
Mm-hmm. Like the whole time. She's just fucking moping. And her mom's like, why are you moping? Like, you're so mopey. And then they have the conversation about this stuff. And she leaves out part, like key parts about like Garrett's dad and stuff and his story. And but just like, her mom gets the gist of like, it's over a guy. And even her dad figures it out because he's like, come on, like, what are you moping about? Like, it's just, you know what I mean?
We're not stupid, Hannah,
and so,
without an M.
And so on
we
New Year's...
put an M in your name for a reason. You're not a mope.
Manna. So on...
Manna. Mopey manna.
On New Year's Eve...
Birthday Eve.
On New Year's Eve, they're all like, so it's her parents, her aunt and uncle, and then 2 of their friends, like the middle-agers, celebrating New Year's Eve, and they bring her downstairs. She's like in her pajamas, and she's just like mopey, and they like count down and watch the ball drop and all this stuff. And I think it's her dad. He's just like, just go call that boy. That's who you want to be spending New Year's with. Just go call him.
Oh.
And she goes upstairs and calls him, and it's just like, oh my God, the conversation. It's her wishing him a happy birthday and a happy new year. And he's like, oh, like, thanks, whatever. And he's like, so how many people have you dated?
It's been like a month. Settle down.
She's like, well, none. They were only together for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even that long. And she's like, well, none. And he's like, okay, just checking. And then whatever, they have a call. See you in the new semester there, Hannah.
He also
like,
wishes
okay.
her like good luck with that too. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Good luck.
So then we go back to campus,
School.
and she's still mopey, obviously, and he's go back to playing hockey. And she is talking to, what do we name him? The guy from the first scene she dances with.
Joe?
Joe Schmo.
Joe Schmo.
Yeah, so Joe Schmo. She runs into Joe Schmo at the coffee shop. She's like, fine. Like, he keeps asking me if I'm dating people. I'm going to go out and date people. We're going to do it. I'm going to double down on this and whatever. Fine. Just to prove to him that this is happening. Because he doesn't believe her, obviously. And so she runs into Joe Schmo at the cafe. And she, like, asks him out. And he just, like, dodges that bullet. No, I'm not doing that. Goodbye. And then she's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and nobody talks to her because there's a scene early on after they went to that party where they were, like, on a date where everyone was like, oh, hey, Hannah. Like, hey, Hannah, what's up, Hannah? Like, everyone acknowledged her existence. And now nobody will acknowledge her existence. And she's like, what the fuck?
He blacklisted her.
So
You can't date anyone but me.
Damn it, Jacqueline. Are you sure you didn't read this? So
She
she
calls Sean.
well, so what she's like, I need to go hang out with somebody tonight. And so she calls Sean, who's Allie's boyfriend. And she's like, hey, Sean, like, what are you doing? Like, do you want to go catch a movie or hang out or whatever? He's like, wait, is this entrapment? Is Allie on the line? I swear, Allie, I would never cheat on you, especially not with your friend. Like, and she's like,
I love
no,
you,
this is not entrapment. I love that. But this is not what's going on right now. I just, and then she tells him, but like, yeah, like, I'm such a fucking pariah here. Now, like, what's going on? And he's like, oh. And she's like, oh,
She wants him to he's part of a fraternity, so she wants to hang out with him so she can hang out with some of
some of his
frat
guy
bros.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's like,
yeah,
no. And she's like, well, what's going on? And he's like, I'd rather not say. And she's like, Sean, you tell me right the fuck now. And so he divulges that she has been blacklisted and no one is allowed to date her in the entire campus.
And this is where I was going earlier when I said, like, the moment that he acts like a 21-year-old boy. This is the moment he acts like a 21-year-old boy.
No, screw you. This is awesome.
I'm not saying it's not awesome. I'm just saying, like,
Now.
he's been super mature about it the whole time. This is, like, the one thing where you're like, there it is.
Anyway, it's such a fucking flex. I love
he
it.
licked it. It's his.
Okay. So, if you'll consult your notes, Ashton, the second to last point is where we're at now.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic.
So,
She storms her ass into the fucking...
she marches up to the arena and
Yep.
she marches into the players' locker room. And everyone's standing there like, she like, where the fuck is he? Where's Garrett? Point, like, where is he? And everyone's like, well, he's in there.
everywhere.
He's in there. And then she walks into the locker room and there's just penises as far as the eye can see.
It's the way she describes them, too. Like, big penises, little penises.
Do I get to read that part?
No, but I think I'll try to find it real quick. Hold on. Okay, here's the penises. Is Garrett in there? I bark. He looks startled to see me. Yeah, but I bulldoze past him and grab the door handle. The guy protests from behind. I don't think you should go in there. I burst into the locker room and penises! Sweet Jesus! Penises everywhere. Horror slams into me as I register what I'm seeing. Oh God, I've stumbled upon the penis convention. Big penises and small penises and fat penises and penis-shaped penises. It doesn't matter which direction I move my head. Everywhere I look, I see penises. It's just
I
amazing.
like penis-shaped penises.
Yeah.
And so
Brilliant.
she marches it. She like gets over this real quick, marches past that. He's in the showers. She walks past Birdie, who's like, "Oh my God!" and grabs a towel and covers himself. And they're like the kind of half showers. So
Yeah.
And so he turns around. And he's like, "Oh hey babe, what's up?" And she's like, "What the fuck did you do?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Why did you blacklist me from dating people?" And he's like, because you didn't want to date anyone. And I'm just trying to help you right now
'Cause you'd
from
feel
hurting.
guilty.
Because you would feel guilty about dating someone when we're not broken up. She's like, we are broken up. He's like, we're not broken up. Why don't we go have a real conversation about what's going on here right now? And you can tell me everything. And they have this like back and forth spat. The coach comes in at one point and he's like, what is going on in here? Like, what is up? And Graham's just like, it's cool, coach. I'm just getting back together with my girlfriend. So no big deal. Nothing's going on here. And he's like, all right, coach leaves.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So they go back to his dorm, or her dorm, sorry, because it's closer. And she lays it all out. Because at this point, she's just like, I can't fight this anymore. I tried and I lost. Like, you won. And so she divulges everything that happened with his father and everything. And he's just like, admittedly, like, controlling himself because he's so fucking angry. But then he's also just like laughing. And she's like, this is not funny. Like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, this is where he tells her about the trust that he has. And he's like, I literally couriered him a check this morning. He's out of my life for good. You don't have to worry about any of that. And she's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. And happy ending. Surprise. Yay. And everything is right in the world. The end. I think that covers all of my... The only thing I didn't cover was... It was philosophical ethics. That was the class.
Ooh.
I did write it in my notes.
That does sound horrible also.
Why does everyone have a fake ID? Okay, this is an American thing because 21 is drinking age. So,
Yes.
Anyway, whatever. Everyone in this fucking book had like a fake ID. What is that about?
I know tons of people had fake.
What do you mean?
Well, like they're all under 21, but they want to go out and drink. So they all have fake IDs.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew anyone with a fake ID growing up, did I?
Oh, I did.
Did you really? Like at home?
Not like where we grew up.
Yeah.
Me and my dad made my sister a fake ID.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
I love that for you.
It was awesome.
That sounds rad.
I had a fake birth certificate so I could get into the movies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of the... Sorry, I got turned down from the movies one time because I wasn't 17, which was hilarious to me.
Oh, this was 14.
Oh my God.
Like when we were like in middle school or whatever, because we weren't allowed to go to
Yeah.
whatever. And like we didn't have IDs. They're like, oh, you just bring your birth certificate. So a couple of friends had like their older siblings like birth certificates or whatever.
Yeah, because there's no picture on them. So
Yeah,
like, how
exactly.
would they know?
And so
Yeah.
I just like scanned mine, changed the
Nice.
5
You
to
were
a
forging
4,
shit.
and yeah.
Nice. You love to see it. So now that we're at the end of the book, it comes to my favorite part, which is Jacqueline reading something. So as I mentioned, this is going to be the part where they masturbate with each other.
Oh yes.
And so you're going to get, and this is from Garrett's perspective. So you're going to get a little bit of like how he's in his head about it. And it's pretty brief, but like, anyway, let's give it a go. It's a little bit
pretty brief.
It's pretty, well, I mean, it's a very short kind of clip into it because I don't want to spoil a lot of this book because it's fucking precious.
I've never jerked off in front of a girl before. I mean, I've given it a stroke or two before putting my cock in a more desirable place than my fist. But whacking it from start to finish, it's a first for me, and I'm nervous. But I'd be lying if I said I also wasn't turned on, something fierce. I can't believe that Hannah is lying naked on my bed. She's fucking beautiful. Her body is soft and curvy in all the right places. Her breasts are absolute perfection, round and perky and tipped with reddish-brown nipples. My gaze lowers to the narrow strip of hair between her legs, and I'm dying for her to part them. I want to see every inch of her. But I don't want to come off like a perv, and I don't want to scare her off, so I keep my mouth shut. I'm hard as a rock, my cock throbbing in my fist as I try not to ogle the sexy naked girl on my bed. You're not talking, she accuses, her tone both teasing and nervous. I don't want to scare you off, I say hoarsely. Dude, you're standing there naked in front of me with your dick in your hand. If that doesn't scare me, I doubt anything you say will. Good point. And damned if my dick doesn't tingle when she calls me dude. In fact, every word that comes out of her mouth gets me hot. Spread your legs, I tell her. I want to see you. She hesitates. And then she does it, and my breath spirals out of my lungs. Fucking perfection. She's pink and pretty and glistening and perfect. I'm going to come way too fast. It's a fact. But I do my damnedest to prolong the inevitable. I stroke myself in a painfully slow tempo, avoiding putting pressure on the tip of my cock, ignoring the sweet spot underneath it. Show me what you would do if I wasn't here, I murmur. Show me how you'd touch yourself. Her cheeks turn the sweetest shade of pink. Her lips are parted, just slightly, but wide enough that if I pressed my mouth to hers, I could slide my tongue between the pouty seam and taste her. I want to kiss her so badly, but I resist the urge. This moment is too delicate to risk panicking her again. Very slowly, Hannah brings her hand between her legs. A shockwave of pleasure shudders through me. That's it, Wellesley. Touch yourself. One fingertip brushes her clit. She rubs it. Her touch is measured, exploratory, like she's taking the time to find out what feels good. I match her unhurried pace. My body craves release, but this is too important to blow. Literally blow, because I'm so fucking close. I have to breathe through my nose and clench my ass cheeks to stop from exploding. Does that feel good? My voice sounds low and strangled to my ears. Hannah nods, her green eyes wide as saucers. A breathy noise slips out of her mouth, and I suddenly imagine that mouth wrapped around my dick, and I'm dangerously close to losing it. I snap into emergency jack-off mode, squeezing my shaft tight enough to bring a jolt of pain. Hannah rubs herself even faster, her other hand skimming up her body to cup one firm breast. She toys with her nipple between her fingers, and I bite back a growl. I want to suck on that puckered bud more than I want my next breath. What are you thinking about, Wellesley? I voice the question not just for her sake but mine. I need a distraction. ASAP. Her gaze stays glued to the lazy movement of my hand. I'm thinking about you. Oh hell, not that kind of distraction. My strokes get faster as my hand takes on a life of its own. There's a naked woman on my bed and I can't fuck her. I can't, because tonight isn't about me. It's about Hannah. I'm thinking about how sexy you are, she whispers. I'm thinking about how much I want to kiss you again. I almost go to her and give her what she wants, but I'm terrified the spell will be broken if I do. What else? I say thickly. Her hand leaves her breast and travels over her flat belly, down the edge of her hips. God, she's tiny. I could probably span the entire width of her waist with both my hands. I'm thinking about your fingers inside me. I'm thinking about the same damn thing, but I satisfy myself watching her fingers. She pushes two of them into her pussy, while her other hand continues to tend to her clit. Her cheeks are even more flushed now, so are her breasts. I realize she's getting close, and the satisfaction that courses through me is like nothing I've ever experienced. I'm doing this to her. I'm not touching her, but my presence is turning her on. I pump my cock, squeezing the head on every upstroke. I'm close, I warn her. Yeah? So fucking close, I don't think I can hold off for much longer. Then I curse under my breath because I can see the wetness coating her fingers every time she withdraws them. I'm dying here. Me too. Her eyes have gone hazy with pleasure, and she's rocking restlessly on my bed. We're both making noise. I'm groaning, she's whimpering, sighing. The air is electric and my body's on fire. Oh God. She's panting for air now. Watch me, I mumble. Watch what you're doing to me. I stroke myself faster and she cries out, Garrett! She comes with my name on her lips and I come to the sound of it. Pleasure hurtles through me, coating my hand and my abs. The force of my release nearly knocks me off my feet and I wildly grab the side of my desk, holding on tight as pulsing waves roar through my body. When I crash back to earth, I find Hannah watching me. She looks dazed and fascinated, and her breasts heave as she sucks in oxygen. Oh my God! Astonishment flashes across her face. I can't believe... I blink and suddenly there's a naked girl in my arms. She launches herself at me, unfazed by the wetness on my stomach, which now sticks to her skin. She wraps her arms around my neck and buries her face in the center of my chest. I came! I choke out a laugh. I saw. They both conquered.
Thanks for that, Jack. That was great. Yeah.
I came. I saw.
We've come to the rating portion of this game, and I think we should rate this on pina coladas.
Or why not penises?
We could rate it on penis-shaped penises.
Okay, let's rate it on. Let's estimate 7 penis-shaped penises because there's big ones and small ones and whatever. So like, let's average it out. 7 penis-shaped penises.
That is not very many on that hockey team.
There's like, I mean,
Some
there's
of them probably had their clothes on and whatnot.
Well,
though.
there's some in the shower.
Yeah.
So like,
Some might have not penis-shaped
Well, yeah, of
penises.
course.
because some are big and some are small.
Yeah, and some might look like mushrooms.
So let's go with 7.
Okay.
Nice round number. Anyway, completely
It's not,
opposite.
though.
Yeah, you're right. So art school.
Nice round number.
Okay, I'm going to give this a 7.
Show your math.
I can't. It's so good. I don't. The math
Round
is
it out.
the math is 7 plus 7. No, it's not. It's 7. It's 7.
The
That's
math
the
is
number.
mathing?
The math is mathing. It's just a 7. Having read this book through twice now, I honestly can't find a reasonable criticism, and that like I would have to dig for a really good one, honestly. And like the writing is very good, the story is spectacular, the character development is wonderful, the dynamic is great, everything.
The pacing's good.
The pacing is so good, and like I just devoured this book the first time, and I devoured the shit out of it the second time, and like I actually tend away from more mainstream authors to a point. Like this is, like,
Oh yeah, this is
Again-
one of the ones that I put on your list.
yeah, and like I have like Elle Kennedy is a very well-known author, and like she is Canadian.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's from Ontario. I don't know, man. I knew it was going to be good because of course it is. It's like reading Sarah J. Maas. Like, okay, this is good. Like, you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a good book. But like, holy fuck, it was just like I'm floored. I need to read everything that she's ever written. Unfortunately, she has written a shit ton of books, so I've got a lot of reading to do. But
Did you say unfortunately?
yeah,
But fortunately, her series, especially the hockey ones, are like 4 books in the series.
that's right. And she has a number of series, so like it's kind of
There's 3. There's Off Campus, Briar U, and then the third one. There's only 3 books slated. It's the first book in that series is The Graham Effect, which I think is Garrett and Wellesley's kids.
interesting. Yeah, because this is like a generational thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So gosh, yeah, 7. Great. I literally cannot think off the top of my head of a criticism for this book.
7 penis-shaped penises.
Yeah, 7 penis-shaped penises. Ash, what do you got? Did you listen to the audiobook of this?
Yeah. And the narrators weren't bad.
Was it the dual, like a female and a male narrators?
Yeah, it was
Duet
a
or whatever?
duel. It was dual, but not duet.
Oh, okay.
So male doing female, female doing male, based on whoever's reading the chapter.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd say I'm like, why would I rate it a 6? Like, what is there anything that I was like?
Literally, I can't. I had such a hard time. I can't find a bad thing to say about this book, and I kind of hate that.
Do you know what it is for me?
What?
I listened to this.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm having a harder time listening to audiobooks because we have the puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been listening a lot in my car, but then my mom's truck got busted.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom's been driving with me because she's borrowing my vehicle. So this book actually took me a really long time to get through.
Oh, okay.
So my brain is like, this took you a long time to get through, so it clearly wasn't that good.
But it's just circumstantial.
Yeah, which is 100% circumstantial because like the content was solid.
This is why I like reading them twice too, because like
Yeah.
number one, it's good to refresh my memory, but like I have emotional reads sometimes, and sometimes I read shit to get out of the emotional reads, and so it's kind of nice to get like 2 different perspectives of myself reading it.
Yep.
Because like the second time I usually devour them quickly, like it's in a day or 2.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it equally as much both times with like I don't know. I'm floored. I have nothing bad to say about this book. I
Yeah.
always have something bad to say about something.
Well, no, the caught on camera you were good with too. Yeah, we'll go 7.
7? All right, Jack, what do you got?
2 7s?
2 sevens. What do you got?
Oh my gosh.
How many penis-shaped penises are you rating this?
Okay, I just found a little text from Garrett to Hannah.
Uh-huh.
Him. Confession. I deleted all the One Direction from your phone when you were in the can. You're welcome. Me. What? I'm going to kiss you. Him. With tongue? So she like auto corrected, and then he's teasing her about wanting to kiss. Oh my god. So I think I want to give it a 7 as well.
Like, are you gonna read this?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I have not read it yet, so my
Yeah.
7 is just based.
Tentative 7.
It's a tentative 7.
But it makes you want to read it? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
It's like a tentative 7 penis-shaped penises.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna alter a penis.
Damn. They're just
Yeah.
penis-shaped penises.
No piercing penis.
I mean, there might be one that's missing a testicle, but that's not the penis.
That's
so,
true. I also don't think that's a deal breaker. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I really like what, and again, because I'm reading this, I'm listening to the second one now, is like the dynamic amongst them. Like, I liked all of them. Like, and I found you get more of them as like you get into the second book, but like,
More of what? Sorry.
Like the dynamic with the characters, like
Okay.
with like Dean and Tucker and Logan, and
Now that we're at the end of this book, I want to talk briefly about, because like the epilogue and all that stuff. Logan. It's
Yeah.
Logan, right?
Wait, do we want spoilers?
It leads into the second book. So it's not really a spoiler.
Okay.
they touch on it in the book. We just didn't touch on it in the
Yes.
podcast.
And that's why I'm bringing it up at the end, because like it is more of an ending thing. It's Logan, right? That has the, yeah. Logan has like a wicked crush on Hannah. Like obsessive crush on Hannah. And to the point of like the rest of the guys have had conversations with him being like, you need to chill the fuck out. Like he's just always like eyeballs on her because like, and again, like Garrett is his best friend of all time, ride or die. And so for him to be like obsessed with his girlfriend kind of makes this much sense.
Yeah.
But Logan is also fucking broken.
You have no
I know. And like,
idea.
and so this is why like I need to
do we
read.
know why?
Oh, I do.
Ashton does,
Oh,
but we're not
okay.
going to spoil that.
No, but
But
I
like,
was just wondering.
and so when you get to the end of the book, that's what you get is this like Logan being low-key obsessed and it like spiraling into the next book. So it's like there's still the continuity of going into the next one in the series.
He's a man whore.
And it's just like, fuck. Like I immediately, because there's the 2 bonus chapters at the end of this book for the next one. And I started reading them and I'm like, oh fuck, like I need to read this book. And that's why I was like,
I stopped as soon as there is bonus content.
I needed
If I'm going to read the next one, I say fuck it.
Well, see, and this is why, because I was on the fence about reading the next one. I'm like, I don't know, but now I'm like, after discussing it here and just like thinking about it again, I'm like, I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna do it.
She is 18, turning 19.
Yeah,
who?
the next character,
Grace.
Oh. No, we don't. We're not. Are we talking about it?
I'm not talking about it in what happens. I'm talking about it in the context that Rachel might be apprehensive about. She's not a virgin for reasons that are like,
Oh, this is that one.
yeah, like
Can
it's
we
not
stop talking so I can read it?
sure.
the second one.
The first one.
All of them.
I don't. It's not gonna make you squicky. I don't feel like it will. I wouldn't encourage you to read it if I thought that it would.
Well, let's put a pin in it because I'm gonna read it anyway.
Okay,
so
good.
that's okay.
Then we don't have to worry about it.
So we're going a little long here, so we're not going to discuss any of the books. But the next time we are back, it is for Father's Day. That's a thing people celebrate.
Wow.
We are going to be reading Deal Maker by Lily Morton. And that is available on Kindle. I also bought it online, so you can pick that up and give it a read. It's some gay shit for Father's Day, which we love to see. So we'll talk about that next time. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.